What is up, guys? Welcome to the re-edited version of the P-40, and I chopped some stuff up here and brightened it up a bit. I'm just gonna redo these videos. I built two of these things, not at the same time, but it's just a really classic model, and I love this box art. It's great. Obviously, these are pretty flawless kits. The P-40 can have issues with fitting the wings to the fuselage, but I've built three now, and they've all went together well. So here's the clear parts, and these clear parts are pretty sweet. You can have the canopy open or close, so it gives you a nice little option there for your model. If you wanted to do a close, like your other collections are closed or something, then you can if you want it open. And also that's awesome too, because it gives you an extra one when you break them. Like I broke both of my extra ones for these kits, so it's nice to have that extra kind of leeway with having an extra canopy laying around somewhere. So that's pretty cool. And the details on the kit are really good, actually. They are raised panel lines like usual for Revell kits. Old Monogram molds and stuff have raised panel lines, but I mean, if you're a beginner, this is a great kit for you. It's simple. You can build it in a day, and probably paint it in two. And it's a really simple kit. It's great and fun to build. It's not too complicated where you have to paint 1,000 different parts. You know, the interior has barely any details in it. It's basically just has a control stick, rudder pedals, and that's it. But either way, I don't even care about the details in the kit. I prefer to build models like this because they're just easier and more fun. You can have more fun with them. You have more options to do things with them. So this is one of my first videos I actually came out with and I recorded. So my recording is not that great or up to par compared to my other videos, but since I did brighten it up, it is a little bit better. But there is a lot of details in this kit, just not really in the cockpit area, more around the outside of the airplane, and the control surfaces and stuff have good details on them, and the decal sheet's pretty much flawless. I didn't have any problems with these the 3 times I built it. These decals are pretty good, and they go on the model well. So you can also build a Spitfire version of this. I'm sticking to the US themed airplanes right now, and in future videos I'll have some German airplanes that I have, and some British models too, but for right now I'm just going to do the US of America decal versions of things. So here's your basic, classic Marvel instructions. You can barely see it because the lighting's bad, but they're the same all around. This kit's $10 or whatever. It might be $15 at Hobby Lobby or whatever. You can get this kit for very cheap and see those instructions for yourself. But I mean, they're you can see there's like 4 pages or whatever of instructions. You assemble the cockpit, you put it in the fuselage, put the wings together, and you're pretty much done with the model. So this one is a super simple build for any beginner, possibly for any beginner. And yeah, so see, starting out with the seat there. My clippers at the time were not very good. I used them to cut some wires, and that wasn't a good idea. But you can see the control stick, put them there. That's as much detail as you're going to get out of it, which is great. It's really great. So, for mediocre builders like that. So yeah, there's the floorboard, and it's just a smooth sheet with 2 little tiny rudder pedals that don't even really look like rudder pedals. But you get what you get. This is just one of those classic kits that if you wanted to put something together quickly and nicely, you could without having to go through the whole trouble of having such a detailed cockpit. So it's nice to have that. I did go around and add some details here just to make sure that you could build this model easily too. I just bent some wire and didn't even try to bend it really all that great. I just bend it a little 90 degree there, and use a needle to put that on other pieces. It's best to use CA, not super glue, when sticking metal to plastic. CA works a lot better. It'll actually stick to it. And there's your throttle arm or whatever is going on right there. I did look up some reference photos on the inside of some P-40s. So the main wire, I did like the main wires. I didn't really want to put all too much time into it. I wasn't making this thing a trophy airplane. So I definitely just had some quick little wires that I put in, and just to show you that you could add detail in there that you wanted to. Those are little flat pieces of plastic. They kind of just raised that panel line up and gave it some texture on the bottom there, so it wasn't so flat. This, I think, it connects to the throttle. I'm not sure exactly, but I just wanted a little bit more detail on the side panels as well, just to show that if you wanted to, you can add literally, I think, 4 or 5 wires, and you're good to go. I mean, you can have, 4 or 5 pieces of wire, tuck it in there, and still build it in a day, and it would look great, honestly. So here I am just coating this with Vallejo primer. That's what I use for all my models. I got a big jar of it, of Vallejo green olive drab primer, and you just want to do those inside areas there real quick so you can get to paint these. So you'll be able to see how much a difference just a little bit of detail, spending 20 minutes on some wires and some panels and stuff makes in a cockpit like this that has none. You can see the difference in what it makes if you are a beginner modeler. Probably all the guys that are watching this are probably thinking that have modeled for a long time are probably thinking, I'm never going to build one of those stupid P-40s again. Because they know that it's not detailed. If you want a detail and you got a model like this, you're not going to like it. You're not going to enjoy the experience. But if you don't mind it and you just like building models and not really caring about the inside, then this is perfect for you. It'll go along nice and easy. So I just have a needle melted into the middle of that plastic sprue there, and I just take it, and I typically use this for the needles in the instrument panels. It seems to work out pretty okay with some thick paint. I can get some pretty good lines with it, and just scratch the surface of the lines that are on the needles, and you can get some pretty straight lines there. So that's what I typically use that tool for. It works really well. I would recommend building one of those. This, I'm just putting some black paint on the control stick. I didn't go too crazy with doing a whole bunch of different colors, so I just did the main areas black and left it the way it was. So I did end up using some reference photos for these panels, and they did have these fully aluminum panels on the bottom of the P-40 cockpit. I thought that was a cool detail to put in there, and I wanted to show that off a little bit. I mean, I really didn't spend too much time on these panels, so they don't look crazy good, but it's just that little bit of extra detail that makes it look a little bit better throughout the build. So, and I end up riveting these panels too, because it looked like it had some bolts in it that held those little panels down, the real thing. So I just put some rivets in it, and it made it look good enough. So when it comes to painting, I typically do my blacks and silvers first, just because that's, mainly the main thing is going to be black and silver. Like any little detail in the cockpit is going to be either black or silver. And I really want to get the tubes and all the wire crap that are silver out of the way kind of first. So I just like doing that. If I think that there's too much silver, then I can correct it, you know, and not have to go back into silver like 10 times, or aluminum or chrome or whatever, 10 times. So I can just correct it later if I think that there's too much silver. Now this is the weathering stage. I am just dry brushing some silver paint onto the areas so it'll accent those areas a little bit better. I call this sobering, what I labeled it early on in my modeling hobby. I just was like, oh, let's silver some stuff, and then it stuck with me. I just understand what that means now. I went ahead and did some other areas too, like the rivets on the inside of that panel there. You basically don't want to do this too much if you are silvering, but what you do is just take your brush, dip it in the paint, and brush it off in a paper towel, and so it's pretty dry, and then you go over your areas with a dry brush like that. Here I'm using the needle applicator to put on the red little buttons there. Now I will say that this works good, but toothpick for doing buttons and stuff, a toothpick works much better. A toothpick is absorbent, so it actually kind of absorbs the paint in it. You can actually do fine little dots with a toothpick, and it's just much better to use a toothpick for doing buttons than this needle. For the little needle arms for the instrument panel, it's fine to use the needle, but for buttons, you definitely want to stick to a toothpick. You can put some really good dots on. Here I'm using that same applicator to actually just poke the rivets in those holes like I was talking about earlier. You poke it right in, and it kind of just dents the paint just enough so that when you put your wash in there, it highlights the areas that it did poke, and makes it look like it has some bolts in there. So this is my wash. I don't use this anymore. Typically I use just black paint, black water-based paint, or brown or whatever. This stuff actually ended up going bad on me, and obviously you know that mild is no longer a thing anymore. So I use this, and with that silver paint, kind of rubbed it off. That's why I hate using oil paint. Doesn't do that with latex usually, and oil paints are kind of but it was a good, it did a lot of models for me, It did a lot of models, so, this stuff is always good if you love model masters and are stuck on oil-based. I kind of veered away from oil-based recently, so, but still worked great, and it still put a good wash on there and highlighted those areas. So my instrument panel looks pretty sweet. It looks, for what the kit came with, that looks pretty good for this kit. So I was happy with it, and moving on from there, I just didn't really. I don't put way too much detail into the control panels. I know I'm not going to be able to see them after I put the canopy on and stuff. So I don't really care. or anything, but it literally just melts that plastic together, and it makes a little bit of a ridge on top so that you can just sand that smooth, and then the model's perfectly smooth, unless you have a big gap. This stuff is just the width, so I would definitely recommend getting some Tamiya Ultra Thin. Yeah, you just put this thing on all your seams. If you don't have a gap, then you should be good to go, and you don't even have to putty it or anything. Just sand it down, and then your seam is pretty much gone after using it. For the tail fins, and kind of the wing assembly and the wing attachment to the fuselage, I use this other stuff. This tends to be more flexible, so if some weight comes down on the wings, or you hit it or bump it or anything, it's not as brittle as the Tamiya stuff. It's really flexible, and it can withstand some bending and some changes in the weather, and having to be cold and warm and stuff, so it tends to flex and bend a little bit better, just for a more long-lasting model. Glue, I think, is just the easiest way to put it. I like putting all this stuff in the little joints and around the areas that it comes in with heavy plastic. So it's just, honestly, you don't have to do this. You could use Tamiya Ultra Thin for everything, but I would definitely recommend using different glues in different areas and seeing what you like, and seeing what the best result is for you. So you can see that there's a pretty big gap where the wing connects to the fuselage. I do apply glue here so that kind of everything can hopefully come together, but it actually ended up not being able to come back together. But I will show you how to fix that with a really, really cool product that they have out there. So this stuff is pretty sweet. This is acrylic plastic putty, and water-based, so there's no sanding required. All you have to do is just wet it down and wipe it off. And literally, it's basically like caulking. Everyone's caulking for it, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But this stuff is sweet. Just put a little bit on your applicator, whatever you want to use. It's extremely easy to use, and just one swipe. I mean, I didn't even have to go back and do that. One swipe will do it for you, and your model is seamless and good to go. It looks great. That is actually a semi-dry towel. I think I just have a little bit of water on it, and I dried it off. So I'm just going to clean out that windshield there and pop it on, and I'm almost ready to airbrush. So this glue is micro crystal clear glue, and I use my needle applicator to put it onto the canopy. This stuff is great if you have any big gaps or anything like that with your canopies and stuff. Use this, fill in the gap. You won't even recognize it's there anymore because it dries just crystal clear. This stuff is really good for lights. If you want to do custom lights in your models, it's really good for actually, it's really good if you want something to be really shiny. You go ahead and put this stuff on top of it, and it will actually shine the surface of the place that you want it to be really shiny. Now the kit that I'm doing, I already did the camo version, so I'm going and doing this green version of this airplane, and I wasn't gonna build another camo one just to have in my video. So I'm putting some gray primer on the bottom. As you can see, the inside of the panel, or the landing gear area, is completely dry of any detail. There's no detail in those whatsoever. In fact, the plastic's pretty flimsy around that area, probably easy to bend and break, so just be careful around that area. There's no detail in there. I wasn't putting any detail because I just don't care. And they are what they are, man. It's the best way to put it. I don't look underneath my models very often, so it didn't bother me. But you could do the same tricks like putting wires in there and stuff like that in those areas if you wanted to. I just went ahead and did 2 different color primers on top and bottom, just because I can. I think it would just be easier coverage, so I just did it quickly, and I didn't really care about the overlap as much, but I just wanted the top to at least have a little bit of green on it, and also the canopy would be green too, so I had to coat that anyways. I don't know what it is with me and airbrushing, but airbrushes just don't agree with me a lot of the times. They either work too good or work not at all. So doing panel lines and stuff is very difficult for me. I don't do my lines very straight, as you can see, but I got most of them in, and that's good enough, I guess. This part is pretty important, but you don't have to get it perfect if you want to do panel lines and you're bad with an airbrush. Like, I'm terrible with an airbrush. You can see all my lines are just squiggly octopuses, and but it doesn't have to be terrible, because you can go back with the green and fix everything that needs to be fixed. So it's really not that big of a deal. After all I get those panel lines in, I just go around and carefully go around those panel lines first with one little coat of paint, just to get some color on the inside of those boxes. You can see there, I'm really trying to stay away from the lines. I want it to be a little misty above the lines, because I do want to cover them up a little bit, but not so much, because it's going to get like 2 coats of paint pretty much. So if you do too much, then you won't see those lines anymore. There really is no right way to do panel lines. It really depends on what your model is going to look like. So like black basing, it may be easier. You know, there's a light coat of paint on top of those panel lines, and it's not covering all the way. But you could black base it first and then carefully go around all the boxes. I just find that it hides it a little bit better and makes those panel lines accent a little bit more. This putty stuff, don't use it. This was an awful mistake that I made. It doesn't stay up, gravity takes hold, and it pulls it down. Don't ever use this stuff on your models. I'm just telling you right now, it'll save you a lot of trouble and a lot of time. So just don't do it. This stuff sucks. It really does. It looks good and it looks like it works, but if you wait 4 minutes or 5 minutes, the stuff starts to droop and sag, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, it does actually bring out a cool effect. If you do it right away, if you paint your model right away, and you put this stuff on, and you coat the top with green or whatever you're doing, you coat the top, you wait 10 to 15 minutes, and then you go back and do your lighter shading. It actually does make a really cool effect, but it can be a little bit overboard. So you have to watch it, and you have to pay attention to how much its gravity is taking it, and see what goes on with it. But it can create really cool light faded lines across your area perfectly on where that that stuff is setting. So there is good parts to it, but there is bad parts. There's a few paint jobs where it's like, you know, the camo is like 4 colors. So it's the green and green and tan and like a lighter green. And you can actually use this trick with a camo like that. So try it out and see how it goes for you. It doesn't work with straight colors. If you don't want that lighter highlighted area, then just don't use this stuff whatsoever. But it can be used for some things. So this is what I'm talking about. You just put that, put a few drops of white to make it look kind of sun-dried-y kind of finish on the model, and just went ahead and randomly applied it everywhere. But if you do that on those seam lines where gravity has taken hold after 5 minutes, then you can see that lighter color come out right above the gray line. So just be careful of that. Now, before you paint anything yellow, anytime, regardless of what you have, you always want to paint it white first. I made that mistake. This thing has 10 coats of paint on it. It took me forever. I was squeezing that friggin' airbrush in for like 2 hours. So I would recommend painting the areas white first before you do any kind of yellow. It did come out good because more paint, I guess, is better sometimes in some areas because I don't do my lines very good. But you know, it worked out in the end having 10 coats of paint, but I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that again. This is a gloss finish. I actually use polyurethane from Walmart. The stuff sprays really well, and it doesn't really matter because it's clear anyways. You can't really tell. If it does like goop up on you, you just sand it right down. It's sandable, and you can just respray that area or whatever. And I use this stuff on all my models, the micro set. It works really well to adhere the decals to the airplane, and I'm more comfortable using those soluble materials than just regular water. It works better. It really does. It really adheres to the surface, especially when you put the set on it. So I would definitely recommend getting some of this. This is the micro sole. This is the stuff that really makes it adhere to the surface details. This is the stuff that really shrinks it down pretty much, and it makes it look really realistic. This is my favorite part to building. This is literally just a fantastic part. I love putting decals on. I could sit there and do it for hours. I have before. So it's just the best part. It's the coolest part. Everything is coming together. All the hard work's done, and this is the easy part. This is my favorite part of the build, and I really enjoy all the other modelers out there, you know, when they do their decals and stuff on YouTube. I really enjoy that part the best too. I feel like I don't see much of it, so It is a pain to film, but it's just a joy for me to put on these finishing touches and then wash the model. So it's probably my favorite part of the build. I have a few different ways of washing my models nowadays. This video was a long time ago, and yeah, it's a lot different now. I probably wouldn't ever do this again. I wouldn't ever use, first of all, oil base on top of everything. It is a nice way to go about doing washes and stuff to protect your water-based stuff. I find it so difficult, and then when I want to wipe it off, all the sticky crumbs and stuff like that stick to it, and it's just a pain. So I don't think I'll be doing this way anymore. This wash is very sticky. It's not fun to use for me. So it does work really well. You can see the drag lines look really nice, and you know when you do wash it. But I've used it on like 10 models, and every time I'm like, why do I use this stuff? Why do I use this stuff? Why do I use this stuff? So typically now I'm sticking to Tamiya panel line wash. That is super easy to clean off, and water-based paints. Also, it's honestly easier to airbrush stuff on for a nice finished wash too. That I think looks the nicest as well. So I would recommend just using an airbrush and spending some time after you apply the details with some black, some browns, and just going around and dusting some areas in with an airbrush. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate every view and every comment as well. If you want to comment. I respond to literally everybody. So go ahead, shoot me a comment. I'll respond. Also, subscribe, hit that like button. Thank you guys so much.